What is up, guys? I'm Francis the instructor and I'm back with another tutorial video with Get Licensed Driving School, and in this one we are going to talk about pedestrian crossings. So firstly, really quickly, there's two types of pedestrian crossings: uncontrolled and controlled pedestrian crossings. Uncontrolled crossings are things like zebra crossings, where you decide when you can go. Controlled crossings are things like the lollipop lady outside a school, or the builder outside a building site, or a traffic light where you are told when to go and stop. So first, let's think about anticipation and planning on the way up to a pedestrian crossing. There's no point thinking about the crossing when you're at the crossing. That's too late. You should have dealt with it already. You need to be thinking about and planning for the crossing way far back down the road as soon as you can see it. So that if you're, let's say, at a zebra crossing, you can check the pavement, scan the pavements, ready for any pedestrians to start getting close to it. When you see pedestrians approaching the crossing, you can check the mirror and start slowing down. Or if you're at a traffic light controlled crossing, you can see if there's someone that's pressed the button and be ready to slow down and stop if the lights change. Next, signs and road markings. If you're approaching a zebra crossing or a pedestrian crossing that's perhaps hidden or just around a bend, you might see a red warning triangle to tell you that that is approaching. So look out for them, look out for all your signs and signals as usual. Next, road markings. If there are zigzag white lines around the pedestrian crossing, what does that mean? The line painter's drunk? No, it doesn't mean the line painter was drunk. It means the same as a red line: no waiting, parking, loading, and also no overtaking. No overtaking is an important one. If you're the lead car stopped at a zebra crossing and then a motorbike comes up behind and tries to overtake all of the traffic, how much vision has that motorbike got? Not very much. You can't see the pedestrian on the other side of the big vehicle, and the pedestrian can't see you, which is why that road marking is there. It's really important. A very unknown road marking, zigzag white lines, mean no overtaking. Next, where should you stop at a pedestrian crossing? You cannot be stationary on a pedestrian crossing. That's a hard and fast rule. If you are stationary on a zebra crossing, you could potentially fail your driving test. It's dangerous for the pedestrians to have to walk around you because it gives them limited visibility. Don't stop on pedestrian crossings. If you're at a traffic light control crossing, you'll have a white stop line. You need to stop at the white stop line. That's your stop sign. If you're at a zebra crossing, there'll be a line of white dots around the zebras. That's where you stop. Next, just before we go, let's talk about lights. A zebra crossing will have a flashing amber beacon on either side of the crossing, not to be confused with a white light on a pole. That is just an island in the middle of the road to help pedestrians cross halfway before they then cross the other half of the road. It is not an official crossing. If you're on your driving test, it's inappropriate to slow down and stop for people at an island because it's not a crossing. Next, let's talk about traffic lights. Red light means stop. Green light means proceed when it's safe to do so. So a lot of people are waiting here at the red traffic light, see the green light, go, 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 and stall the car. It just means proceed when safe. So if there's still someone crossing, obviously it's not safe to proceed. Wait for the pedestrian to move out of the way and then go. Amber light on its own means stop if it's safe to do so. So if you're this close to the line and you're doing a decent speed, it's not going to be safe to slam on your brakes because the car behind you might then go into the back of you. If you're further away from the line, depending on your speed, and you have checked the mirror already before you approach the traffic lights, then it might be safe to stop at the line as long as there's no one tailgating you and you don't have to brake too sharply and you're not going to surprise them by braking. So we should be attempting to stop at all amber traffic lights if they're on their own, but making sure that it's safe, checking the mirror behind, making sure there's no one tailgating you, and braking safely and smoothly. Next, after the red light, there can be two different phases of traffic light. A puffin crossing will go red and amber and then straight to green. A pelican crossing will go red, flash amber, and then go to green. The flashing amber light is just the same as a zebra crossing. If there are pedestrians still crossing, you let them go first. If the crossing is clear, you proceed, just like a zebra crossing. Right, that's pedestrian crossings explained. Let's go and get some examples. Right, so up ahead, I can see my first zebra crossing. I've identified it nice and early so that I can start to check the pavements. I'm taking a look in my rearview mirror as well so I know how hard I can brake if a pedestrian pops around the bend. And I'm approaching with caution because the zebra crossing was on a corner. A pedestrian could have walked around the bend and started to cross the crossing. So it's important to not just have a look at the crossing and say, you know what, it's clear, and carry on at normal speed if there's the possibility that pedestrians could approach at a later stage. Keep checking, rechecking, and keep identifying any pedestrians or any hazards that could affect you later on down the road. Right, so as I'm in this meeting situation, I can see just ahead there is a zebra crossing. It's really clear, it's really obvious. There's a big flashing amber light up ahead of me. So already I'm starting to anticipate and plan. It's quite a busy area. There's a medium amount of pedestrian footfall around. There's lots of parked cars that are impeding my vision, and I'm looking right and left. There's a pedestrian all around the crossing. Is she gonna use it? She's walking away from it, but I was aware in case she was going to cross. Again, there's a corner that I can't see around as well that a pedestrian could just walk around and access the crossing. So I was cautious. There's a lot of traffic in Clapham today. And here's where your planning and anticipation. Here's where your planning and anticipation skills are really important. I'm about to turn right, which is just a normal T-junction. No problems there. But as soon as I turn right, I'm going to access and be next to a zebra crossing. So it's important to anticipate and plan ahead. I'm not just dealing with this T-junction, I'm dealing with the zebra crossing ahead as well. I'm looking for pedestrians around the crossing. Yeah, I've got a little bit more time now because I'm in a little bit of traffic. But even if the road was free-flowing and not stopped, I'll be dealing with the T-junction and dealing with the zebra crossing as a one-er. Must have been this guy holding up the traffic. Let's go around, thank you. And another zebra crossing. Double caution here because I can't see what's happening on the right because of all of the cars. So slowing right down, because if someone approaches at the same time as I'm driving along and I don't slow down for them and stop, what's going to happen there? The pedestrian is going to not be expecting me to cross that crossing. They're going to be expecting to have priority. And again, I'm going around this junction and instantly I'm at a zebra crossing. I saw in advance as I was approaching the junction that there were no pedestrians around, so I don't need to slow down for that crossing at all. And again, up ahead, I'm planning well ahead and I can see that there's a zebra crossing in the distance. There are a couple of pedestrians on the left. It's quite clear on the right, but so I'm going to keep an eye on the left, not forgetting about the right, though I can't make that decision that it's clear all that far back down the road. I need to keep analysing and assessing the crossing all the way up to it. So here is a traffic light controlled pedestrian crossing. If there's no one at the crossing, the traffic lights are not going to change. Why not? Because it's not connected to a junction. The traffic lights are not controlling the flow of traffic around a T-junction or crossroads. So this is really good to help you start anticipating and planning ahead. If the traffic lights are controlling a T-junction or a crossroads, or even a roundabout, they might change randomly to control the flow of traffic around that junction. If there's no junction there, then the traffic lights are only going to change if someone's there to press the button. But then when you're anticipating pedestrians around the crossing, I know when I was a kid, I used to sometimes walk past pedestrian crossings and press the button. It's fun, kids do that, right? Or a pedestrian might have just pressed the button and seen a gap in traffic and walked across. So those lights might have been activated by a pedestrian even when there's no pedestrian there. So you still need to have a little bit of caution and still plan on stopping even if there's no one waiting at a traffic light controlled pedestrian crossing. So again here, coming up to these traffic light controlled pedestrian crossings, I can see there's 3 pedestrians that are waiting. The lights are green. I'm not slowing down until the lights change, but I'm ready to slow down in case the lights change. And up ahead here, again, no junction, but there's a traffic light. It's a pedestrian crossing. There are pedestrians on the left and right. I'm ready for the lights to change. I'm hovering over the brake, covering my brake, so that if the lights do change, I'm ready and waiting just to press the brake. I'm not pressing the brake until the lights change because that would be inappropriate. Remember, we need to be predictable. Driving in the UK is easy because everybody's been taught the same rules and everybody is predictable. When we start braking for green lights, that's unpredictable. It confuses people and it makes people think too much about their driving, and that's when accidents happen. Again, what's up ahead? Clapham High Street has a lot of pedestrian crossings. Are there any pedestrians waiting? No, so I'm not expecting these lights to change, but again, remember, there could have been a pedestrian that's pressed the button and crossed anyway, so I'm always going to be prepared. Now, these pedestrian crossings up ahead have changed lights. So the pedestrian on the right that's now crossing will have pressed the button, and let's see what's going to happen next after the red light. So this one's a pelican crossing. The lights are flashing. What does that mean? Okay, if there's any pedestrians still crossing, I'm going to stop and wait for them. Otherwise, I'm going to progress, just like a zebra crossing. So that one must have been a puffin crossing because it went from red to red and amber straight to green. Okay, so here we're stopped at a red light. What you can do here, I would recommend stay in first gear so that when your lights change to green, you're super ready to set off and go again. If you're in neutral, relaxed, foot's off the clutch, the lights turn green, you're quickly scrambling and hurrying to get your car in to first, then you rush the clutch biting point technique and then you stall the car. Especially if you're in a driving test, you need to be as ready as possible. You can sit with the handbrake on, foot off the brake, but again, that's just adding another step. As long as your car does not move, make sure your foot is on the brake, even if you're on a flat bit of ground, then again, I'd recommend having the handbrake off and foot on the foot brake. Once you're setting off from a traffic light, see what I did there? I checked the left and the right mirror. What if there was a cyclist coming up the left side or a motorbike coming up my right side and overtaking me just as the light turned green? That could be a problem. I need to know about that just before I set off. So I'm checking the left and right mirror every time I set off from stationary. Okay, so up ahead, I can see a zebra crossing, and this one has an island in the middle. You can treat this as two crossings. So if someone's crossing from left to right now, I'm gonna stop for them, but once they're halfway, then I can go. If there's someone crossing from right to left towards me, I'm gonna stop. Whatever side they're on, if there's a pedestrian walking towards my car, I'm gonna stop for them. But once they're halfway and walking away from me, then I can go. That's the difference between a zebra crossing with an island and a zebra crossing without an island. What you might also see is traffic light systems with an island in the middle. The island on a traffic light system doesn't mean anything. If the red light is on, you stop. If the green light is on, you proceed when safe to do so. So guys, that was pedestrian crossings. Hope you found that video helpful. Remember, there's two types of pedestrian crossings, controlled crossings and uncontrolled crossings. Make sure that you're anticipating and planning well ahead. Don't be dealing with crossings when you're right at them. Make sure that you're planning from well far back down the road. And if there's a zebra crossing that you can't see to the left or right of, slow down in case there's a pedestrian about to cross and you can't see them. That's it for now. Follow me on Instagram at Francis the Instructor. Also follow Get Licensed Driving School as well. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.